Hi, this is Laura Whitmore with Acoustic Nation, and I'm here with Jonatha Brooke. Hey, Jonatha.
Hi, how you doing?
I'm good. So, you are a busy lady right now. You have
Yeah.
a show at the Duke Theater.
I do.
And a new album.
I do.
So, why a show? In addition to an album, why did you decide to do sort of a play?
Well, I had a bigger story to tell, and I think it was very clear as I started writing the music that it would be bigger than my next record. At the time, I had planned to make a record and go on tour, but my mother was also failing from dementia and other ills. So I decided to move her in with me and take care of her. So everything else ground to a halt, my career, my making a record, whatever. But what ensued was this incredible theater, basically. It was our daily back and forth, our dialogue. She was very funny. She was, at one point when I was 12, she studied clowning. So she came home in a clown suit one day. She was a poet. She loved wordplay. She, even in her dementia, just treasured weird, funny dialogue. So our daily theater became this incredible material. So I would write it down, and she would say, "Are you getting this down? Because we need to make a play out of it, and we're going to take it to Broadway." And I'd be like, "Mom, that's just so weird, because I am writing it down, and I don't know what it's going to be, but maybe you're right."
Yeah.
So it turned into this play, this musical play. I've written 10 songs that weave in and out of the stories that I tell about our time together, and it's called My Mother Has Four Noses.
Which I find like such an interesting title. I mean, it's obviously part of the story, the reality of the Four Noses.
Right.
But why did you decide to use that title?
Part of it was my mom herself, because she had a great sense of humor. My mother had a prosthetic nose. She had skin cancer that went unchecked for a while, so that it became necessary to, have surgery and radiation. And she ended up with a prosthetic nose. She was cancer-free and fine, but she had this nose that would sort of clip on, basically. So,
Wow.
and she, ever indomitable, had the best sense of humor of all about it. She would say, "How many people do you know that can say they have four noses?" And she would meet someone and she'd say, "Wow, you have a wonderful nose. Is that your nose?" And then she'd say, "Well, I could take mine off." So she, as hard as it must have been, for anybody, but especially for a woman, to be suddenly very changed in appearance, was just unbelievable and buoyant and funny about it, and ever cracking jokes.
Yeah. Wow. That's, it just seems like she had this amazing personality that probably influenced you in a lot of ways besides this piece of work. But
She did, and I talk about that in the play, where how when you're a kid you're just like mortified whenever you think that you might be like your mother. You hear yourself talking to your child like your mother talked to you, or you do something crazy that reminds you of your mom. You're like, "Oh no, I'm not going to be her." And now I get to this point in the play where I say, I love it that I got this from her. I got this sense of like, I can do anything. I got this sense of, I am so loved. I got this sense of wordplay and treasuring words and creating poetry out of whatever situation I'm in. And that's her. Mm-hmm. It's all her.
So did you write the album while you were in the throes of this whole thing, or did you sort of collect yourself and then work on it sort of post?
No,
experience?
It was all part of the mess. It was all part of the daily mess. I had written 2 songs, I think, prior to moving Mom in, but they were definitely rooted in, oh my goodness, something's happening here, and it's not just wacky mom anymore, it's dementia. Mm-hmm. So one of them's called The Wind, and the other is called My Misery. So those were the 2 that I had going into this 2-year period. And then the others would just sort of appear along the way. Mm-hmm. As like these little beacons almost of like, no, you're still here, you're still creating, this is still you. you're doing this now, but here's a little gift for you. We're going to throw you a song just to sort of get you through the next couple of weeks, because caring for someone is overwhelming, and caring for someone with dementia is particularly challenging, and it's hard, and yet there are these incredible gifts in it.
So, I mean, I could imagine, was it sort of therapeutic to put that all together and create this piece of work, this play and album, and, you know?
Yeah, it was very cathartic to be creating something out of the craziness that was our days. Luckily, I had this deadline. For many deadlines are my friend. For many years, I'd been talking to Tracy Brigden, who is the director at City Theater in Pittsburgh, and she had always said, we should work together on something. Maybe you should write with a playwright or collaborate in some way, but you need to be writing for theater. And I had said, well, that's a cool idea, maybe someday. And then Mom moved in, and so everything was shelved. And about halfway through, I called Tracy. I said, something's happening here. I'm writing this thing. I don't know what it is. I think it's a hybrid kind of piece, but it's more than a play, and I think it's theater. Can I send you some stuff? And she said, absolutely, I want in. I want to hear about it. I started telling her stories about what was happening, our day-to-day. She's like, this is unbelievable. This is theater, and it's funny, and it's poignant, and it's everybody's experience, and this is a story you need to tell. So I'm going to put you in my new play festival in June. So this is October, I think. Mom died in January. So I got to work, and I started writing, and I started honing in and distilling and chopping and editing and culling, these hundreds of pages of ideas into this hour-and-a-half theater piece that became My Mother Has Four Noses. And somehow between January 31st and June 1st, this piece came out.
So thank goodness for the deadline, because you could still be working on it right now.
Yeah, and I will always beg for a deadline. Just tell me you need it tomorrow, and I'll be the one. I'll get it to you.